In the heart of Ayodhya, special prayers for a temple to the Hindu god Ram. It's an issue that resonates strongly in Karsevakpuram, a complex that a right-wing Hindu group runs. This was one of the places where crowds gathered in 1992, galvanized by leaders from India's Hindu nationalist BJP party. They believed the nearby 16th century Babri Mosque was built by a Mughal emperor after destroying a temple on the exact spot where god Ram was allegedly born. On December 6th, frenzied mobs tore down the mosque, sparking deadly riots and driving a wedge between Hindus and Muslims. Among the mobs was Hanuman Yadav. Today, he sells books on Hinduism. He remains unapologetic about his role in the violence.
The demolition of the Babri Mosque washed away the stain that the Muslim rulers left on India. They were outsiders, invaders. It was the right thing to do.
Yadav also works as a guide, taking visitors around Karsevakpuram, which has been preparing for years to build a grand Ram temple on the contested site. The place has long been a pilgrimage site for Hindus from across India. Victory to Lord Ram, they chant.
We've worked for so long towards our goal of building a Ram temple. It's not just me, but all the Hindus of this country feel deep down in their souls that the Ram temple should be built here. This is a question of our faith.
With India's Supreme Court now heeding those calls, security has been beefed up to ensure there is no backlash. Memories of the violence are still strong among Ayodhya's small Muslim population. The riots nearly 3 decades ago killed at least 16 people here, and it wasn't limited to the town. The destruction of the Babri Masjid sparked some of the most intense violence here in Mumbai. More than 900 people, the majority of them Muslim, were killed in riots that erupted across India's commercial capital. Areas like these in northern Mumbai saw some of the worst violence. Rashida Kotawala is from the Bora Muslim community. She lost her husband and her brother-in-law in the riots. They tried to rescue her sister from a neighborhood hit by violence. They never returned.
We couldn't understand what was happening. Everyone said it was because of Ayodhya. I went to police stations and hospitals every day to look for my husband. I was afraid I would find his belongings, but I never did.
Activists later discovered that Rashida's husband, Shabir, had been burned alive by a mob. Though she received compensation from the government, the case was never investigated. Back in Ayodhya, social activist Gufran Siddiqui runs a group that aims to bridge differences between young Hindus and Muslims through discussions and dialogue. The participants weren't even born when the violence marked their town. They're eager to move on from the past.
Whether you build a temple or a mosque, the conflict will never end. Instead, put a social institution on the disputed land.
We don't want either a temple or a mosque. We need better education and jobs. We need companies to invest here. We want decent malls.
Instead, Ayodhya will get its long-cherished Ram temple. The hope is that this will finally help close India's deepening religious fissures and bring peace.
Well, for more on this, DW correspondent Sonia Falnikar joins us now from the Indian capital, Delhi. So, Sonia, we're hearing that Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed the nation following this verdict. What has he been saying?
That's right. I mean, in a live televised address, Prime Minister Narendra Modi called today a historic day. He hailed this verdict by the Supreme Court. He said it was a golden chapter in the history of the Indian judiciary. And interestingly, Prime Minister Modi also drew a parallel between this verdict and the fall of the Berlin Wall. He said, November 9th is the date when the Berlin Wall fell and two communities, reuniting people of two communities. And he says this date, gives us a lesson to move forward together.
Well, all right, despite the hopes that this decision is going to bring peace, security has been tightened in India. What are the fears of a backlash?
That's right. I mean, we've seen massive security arrangements in place today in India, and not just in the northern state of Uttar Pradesh, where the town of Ayodhya is located, but literally across India, across many, many Indian states. In Uttar Pradesh, thousands of extra troops have been deployed today. That is in addition to local police who have been trained to contain riots. The police there are also very carefully monitoring social media in a bid to quash rumors and any inflammatory posts. And they're also very wary of, triumphant celebrations by Hindu groups. We're hearing reports that in Ayodhya, some residents, burst firecrackers and distributed sweets when the verdict came out, but they were persuaded to go back by the police. And the background to all this, of course, is that the authorities are trying very hard to avoid a repeat of the kind of violence that we saw in 1992 in the aftermath of the demolition of the 16th century Babri Masjid by Hindu mobs. And if you remember, that sparked deadly riots across India, killing more than 2,000 people.
Well, Sonia, this ruling, of course, in favor of the Hindus comes at a time when there's a Hindu nationalist government in power. How do minorities feel about all of this?
Well, the building of the Ram Temple has really long been a rallying point for the Hindu nationalist BJP party. In the 1980s and the 80s and the 90s, the BJP really spearheaded a political campaign on the plank of building a Ram Temple at the disputed site. This eventually led to the culmination of that violence and the demolition of the mosque. And ever since the BJP has come to power, we have seen repeated calls to build a temple from members of the BJP. At the same time, we have to remember that some members of the BJP are currently facing trial for their involvement in the violence of 1992-93. So against that backdrop, I think it's fair to say that though many Muslim groups today have accepted this verdict, there is a sense of unease and disquiet in the community, Muslims feeling very insecure, especially since the BJP came to power, where religious and social tensions have really deepened under this government.
All right, DW correspondent Sonia Falnikar reporting from Delhi. Thank you.